This situation prevented some farmers from preparing their farmlands for production, while those who were able to prepare their land could not sow due to the absence of moisture. The farmers who took advantage of the early rains in June have experienced severe water stress on their farms. Most of the crops, especially maize and groundnut, have reached their critical wilting points. Let me take you through the weather situation using 3 selected regions as case studies. The Upper West region. This graph on your screen illustrates a stark contrast in rainfall between 2023 and 2024, from June to mid-August. 2023 saw significantly higher rainfall with a pronounced peak in early August. In contrast, in 2024, experienced considerable lower rainfall throughout this period, indicating a potential drought or significantly higher drier conditions this year. This drastic decrease in rainfall could have severe implications for agriculture and water resources. You will see on the graph that in 2024, we received 575 millimeters of rainfall as compared to 982 millimeters of rainfall in 2023. In the Bono East region, Abiasi is located in the Pran district in Bono East. The graph shows a comparison that in this particular area, from July 10th to August 12th, the area received zero rain. And thus, in Abiasi, in the Pran district, from the period July 1st to August 12th, they received 351 millimeters of rain as against 937 same period last year. The weather condition in the northern region. The northern region experienced low rainfall this year as compared to last year, as shown on the graph. Finally, the crop and pastoral impact due to the prolonged dry spell. On the screen, you will see a shift from green to brown and yellow hues in 2024, which is the first image on the screen. It indicates a decreased vegetation health, suggesting plants are under stress from lack of moisture. The extensive brown and yellow areas highlight the widespread impact of the dry spell in the region. The image is from 2022, which is at the bottom of Upper West, Upper East, and the same on top, showing the severe stress and a lack of moisture. The final image is data from Ignitia, which is the next image. This data from Ignitia from 13th to 20th August, 7 days, shows rainfall experienced in the whole country and the sub-region. The dark red means greater than 100 millimeters, yellow 30 millimeters, and green 10 millimeters. The oval marking indicates areas where almost no rainfall has been observed, indicative also of the past month. Information from Ignitia, sourced from Agromite, indicates a heavy rainfall, and this is the rainfall situation or the outlook. Ignitia's report, as sourced from Agromite, indicates a heavy rainfall eventually passing through on the 20th of August. This resulted in large volumes in several locations in Tamale, Bole, Wa, Navrungu, Yendi, and most of the Savannah and northern regions, and also benefited from this rain. Now, this is good news. The 20th August rain event is expected to mark the beginning of more plentiful rains in the central and northern parts of Ghana. The end of the season is expected in mid to late October. Extreme north and middle of November for central Ghana, with coastal Ghana set for dry season in December. The outlook for the next 4 weeks. Sufficient amount of rain for crop growth is expected over the next 2 weeks across the northern half of Ghana, and the rainfall distribution is also marginally conducive for planting a little further south in Bono East, Ahafo, northern half of Ashanti and Oti regions. In about 2 weeks' time, all regions except the coastal regions are expected to receive adequate rainfall volumes. The outlook from September to December marks September 1, or the month of September, marks the beginning of the second rainy season in the south of Ghana. As rains start to contract towards the coast, this means that most of the southern Ghana should be able to see sufficient amounts of rain to support crop growth. Rainfall will hence become more frequent and abundant throughout the country during September before the dry season starts setting in around mid to late October in northern Ghana, mid-November for southern half, with the exception of the coastal areas in the northern regions where the dry season is expected only in December. Now the effects of the dry spell. Preliminary reports indicate that 8,520 cropping one risk. An estimate of 7 billion cedis if there is total those who lose total revenue loss estimated at 22.2. So in about 220 billion. As at August 20th, thousand have been $1,872 are the affected revenue of those affected, not the entire at risk that I mentioned, 2 billion, 0.5 billion, and potential revenue billion. These food security and life with the consequences. till December and maybe January, February of the following year, which coincides with the minor season of the southern sector. These regions contribute about 85% of our grain supply. So that whole 12 months contributes 62, southern sector, mid-zone, they have only one cropping season, and that is their major season. And that harvest comes in from about 20th of September. So from that September to December, they contribute about 85% of our national grain supply. But if you put all together in a year, they contribute 62% of our grain supply. Given the projected crop failure, in grain availability, without any interventions, this could lead to nationwide food shortage and its resultant implications. Another effect that we're very concerned about is the loss of farmer investment. It is estimated that the farmers and confirmed have lost a significant amount of investment I mentioned earlier. This level of damage experienced and the estimates coming in, the ministry believes that to write off percent of the total production. So for we have to write off about total of their investment. There, of course, I have mentioned the estimated production losses will lead to about a 10% decline in agriculture GDP. The northern regions are located near our neighboring countries that are experiencing some forms of extremism. There is a significant risk of the spread of extremism if the youth become unemployed, idle, and hungry, and feel a sense of hopelessness, the absence of any income from government. In response to the phenomenon, state actions to address the situation. In the medium to long term, government expects the sector to develop resilience to these climatic conditions as it rolls out more irrigation and water management schemes. The immediate interventions from now to January 2025. The following measures have been approved by government for implementation.
Chivo 4-in-1 Gary Mix. Champion taste.
This advert is FDA approved.
The northern regions are located in and feel a sense of hopelessness in the absence of any interventions from government. In response to the phenomenon, the government is taking immediate actions to address the situation. In the medium to long term, government expects the sector to develop resilience to these climatic conditions as it rolls out more irrigation and water management schemes. The immediate interventions from now to January 2025. The following measures have been approved by government for implementation by the these vulnerable families to the most vulnerable among these farmers as part whose crops have failed due to the lack of rain. We will be launching a replanting support program. This will include the provision of fast maturing seeds that can still be planted within the remaining window of the season. Farmers who need to replant will also fertilizers to ensure that they can yield. Planting for put who have lost their investment. We need, and the government intervention will be to provide them with some input grant, and they also have access to the input credit. This will help mitigate the financial burden on farmers who are facing additional costs due to the dry spell. Let me also mention that there will be a boost in input support for farmers in the southern sector to maximize their production in the market. We do this to bridge so that we boost us reduce to bring in. Farm aggregators, extension officers on ground, agronomic and soil conservation practices, maintain soil moisture and by 1 month because the meteorological information could not reach farmers. Many farmers planted, got caught up in this we are in. So we have acquired 20 automatic weather stations for GMET, which will be installed at key locations nationwide. We recognize, in conclusion, that the ultimate and sustainable solutions to the reflection of government require enclaves program, as well as all irrigation line. Will continue to monitor the crop, both the north, south, sectors and keep the nation informed. Thank you very much. We have on the screen up north. If you can continue. Acre rice farm destroyed. Yep. You see the faces of our citizens in the next image, please. And these are the faces of dejection, having suffered this loss. The gentleman on the left on the farm where got into the point. Next. To show him on the ground. There's a
I am very optimistic that we will make significant progress. But we also know that our inflation basket is dominated by food inflation. When you see food shortage, and therefore the effect on prices, you should expect that inflation will respond, and will respond in the way that you do not want. Then we are also talking about bringing in food for the market, and also to provide food reliefs. I'm here to discuss with the minister how we are going to source the food. He may be running away from mentioning imports, but we already import a lot of our food. And so one other ways the economy may be affected is from the perspective of foreign exchange. People are complaining the cedi is getting weaker against the dollar, the rate is higher against the cedi. And so if you are going to bring in more food to support what we already have, you need to back it with forex. And therefore the demand for the dollar will certainly increase relative to what we anticipated if we didn't have to meet the additional food requirement, some of which may come through imports. And so in different ways, the economy is going to be affected. But this is why we are a government. That when we see things like this happening, we have to respond. Our response may not entirely neutralize the extent of the problem, but our response certainly will help in stabilizing the situation until we get out of the crisis. And so, as the Honorable Minister for Food and Agriculture said, we are seeking to raise about $500 million US, the equivalent of 8 billion Ghana cedis, to fund the crisis response program. This is so much money. But we are doing this also at a time when our buffers are almost depleted. We are entering the 8th month or the 9th month of our fiscal year. The budget has been implemented so far for about 8 to 9 months. And you should expect that most of us are not there any longer. So this is a difficulty, but we have to raise the funds. As a responsible government, as a sensitive government as we are, His Excellency the President has directed that we do everything within our power to find the money to fund the government response. So far, from the budget side, we have been able to secure up to $160 million. That's about 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. This is largely coming from the contingency fund, which our constitution established. And so we intend to trigger the processes for accessing the contingency fund. We are also doing what we call budgetary alignment to reallocate some funds that were originally meant for other purposes towards addressing the crisis. And so together, 2.5 billion Ghana cedis being mobilized from the budget side. We also relying on our development partners, and we've had serious engagements with partners over the past 1 week or so. And within this short period, we can report that we are able to secure 155 million US dollars. That is about 2.4 billion, almost 2.5 billion Ghana cedis. And so out of the 8 billion Ghana cedis we are seeking to mobilize, we can say that we have visibility on about 5 billion Ghana cedis that we want to use, and use it quickly to respond to this crisis. It may be interesting to also note that the part coming from the development partners, the World Bank, used for such as the cash transfers and also to support input supplies, whilst use funds from the budget to bring in more food, more grains, rice, maize, etc., poultry feed for the market, and also to provide food relief to farmers. I should mention also that even though we can have $315 million, on technical task force comprising development partners and government agencies of Finance Ministry, of Ministry of Food and Agriculture, to ensure that this task force will identify, look at the data again, to identify where support is needed, and also to help in allocating, monitoring the distribution of these resources to ensure that the resources get to affected people. At the end of it all, we should be able to report on what these resources have been used for. And so I want to assure you, the people of Ghana, that this government is going to be transparent, we are going to be accountable, and this, we owe it as a duty to the people of Ghana to ensure that your resources and other resources we raise on your behalf are utilized for the purpose. So I thank you for your attention, and I'll take any question that you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister for Finance, sitting there watching both of you speak with so much empathy and thoughtfulness, I have no doubt in my mind that this too shall pass. I'm confident that you will do everything in your power to find the money, first of all, and also to ensure that they get the support. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I've seen some hands up already, but permit me to acknowledge our media partners speaking. Then we'll come to you. Question, they will bring the microphone to you. You mention name and affiliation and then proceed to ask your question. And please, let's not drag. Keep it brief, as many as we can. But if you join this press briefing from the comfort of your homes or offices, we are live on GTV, UTV, Joy News, Channel 1 TV, Net2 TV, ABC News GH, Sagani TV, Northern TV, Asasi Radio, Oman FM, and streaming on Facebook at Ministry of Information, Mofa Ghana, Think Media, and Kofigo Media. Thank you. So, Mr. Atamens, I saw your hand. And yes, okay. Okay, so we'll take the first four. I've seen 4 hands, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Atamensa from Ghana News Agency. The two ministers have painted a very bleak picture, and I'm so disappointed in the narration. Why am I disappointed? Because over 3 or 4 decades, environmental experts have predicted environmental challenges that will come because of the climate change. And so even in desert countries like United Arab Emirates, Israel, desert areas made provision to ensure food security. In Ghana, when they took over, they came out with policies to ensure food security. 1 district, 1 dam. Implement 1 village, 1 dam. Then 1 district, 1 warehouse. And over the period, they brief us storage and all those things they are doing to ensure the nation is secured. So I'm surprised by this narration. Would the 2 ministers admit failure on your part to being proactive in averting the situation? That's my first question. The second question. Please let me finish my questions.
No. Please go ahead. I'll let you ask the question. Yes. But they admit failures on their part.
Whether they will admit failure.
You can ask your question
because
without
of the policies the government
saying what they haven't
said.
said.
So my second question. The Minister of Agriculture said they will ban
because I thought that wasn't a fair ask. Yeah.
Yes.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, my second question. The minister said because of the dire situation we find ourselves, there will be a ban of export of grain outside Ghana. But rather, we will rely on ECOWAS grain reserve to help us cushion the nation. But we are in the same zone. Ghana, we are part of ECOWAS. And so if other countries have managed to secure their food, then it's an issue. If we are going to rely, while we are going to suppress exports, but we are going to rely on ECOWAS countries to support us. That is my problem. Regarding that, Ghana is in the same zone as other West African countries.
Thank you for the question.
I have other 2 questions.
Oh, you've already asked 2. It is fair that you know that it's not fair. You need to allow your colleagues to also ask their questions. Okay. If there is room for other follow-up questions, why not? But let us give your colleagues the opportunity.
Political seasons here. Politicians never say omo chama omo call for kwan ben so na obe assure say en Ghana for nyina enu ye 1 na number 2 eba ne say ne say ekope emo afi aho omo mfa emra me share konse GMO by force yen desperation ye wo mu say GMO mo be share kon ye ndu omo ne amani bia na obama say eno no ye we election ye ne say ade ne ba no yen kon sign agreement bia de GMO ba be share kon.
Thank you. Okay, so you take the 3rd and the 4th at the back.
Thank you very much. My name is Cliff Ekufu, I write for the Ghanaian Times. I would want to find out what the situation is like in the neighboring West African countries that have similar climatic conditions like Ghana. And then secondly, beyond the measures you have taken, what measures have you put in place to ensure that we don't politicize the crisis as has been spelled out by the Minister of Finance? Because this country, we are very quick to unduly politicize virtually everything. So I would want to find out, but for us to succeed, all of us will have to come on, put in place, rally all Ghanaians behind. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kokraba, I work with the EIB Networks, Kasapa FM. Minister, I want to find out from you, have you assessed the cost associated with the ban of these grains as a nation? And then my second question goes to the Finance Minister. With all these interventions outlined, will it have any impact or effect on the country's inflation, given the fact that some few months ago, you made it clear that Ghana will end the year with a single digit of inflation? Thank you very much.
Okay, I can see. Okay, Nana, your hand was up, and we'll take one at the back. Yeah, the ladies, you don't have any questions, or maybe when I come next time. I was looking around just to give you the opportunities.
2 questions for Agric and Finance. Honorable Minister of Agric, we all know that climate change, my name is Napoku from Daily Searchlight. Climate change is affecting Africa, and for that matter, we are all going through it. What permanent, as it were, or long-term solution or policies or programs are you going to put in place to avoid some of these things, because they will recur, because we are facing climate change in the sub-region and Africa for that matter, so that we may not come back here and then be asking for people to come and help us and asking for arms and that, so that we can be on our feet and face the problem head on. Now, Minister of Finance, you are talking of transparency. Most often when this thing happens, people overly politicize it. Are you going to include opposition and the parties so that they also have what we call feely and see things that is happening? Otherwise, whatever you do, whether you involve the development partners or whatever, people will still make political capital out of it. So are you going to include opposition so that they also see what is happening, and then, therefore, we limit the politicization of every process? Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take the last question for this round. We'll go for the responses and then come back to you.
My name